Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to lesson number 2 for your lieutenant's course. Can everybody in the back hear me well? All right, good. I am not going to be as loud. My voice is, you can hear I'm under the weather a little bit. I almost didn't make it, but I don't want to do that to you guys and girls. I try to stay as dedicated as I can. This is somewhat of an easy lesson. 203 doesn't really have much lieutenant stuff in there. IMF, change of name, stuff like that. But other than that, it should all be a review for you guys and girls, all right? So you're in week 2, approximately 18 more weeks to go. Last week, we covered 202 and we covered one procedure from the AG. Remember that procedure we covered from AG? I said I'm only covering it because it's relevant and a lot of that stuff's been going on in the NYPD. It was early intervention. And look what just happened the other day in PSA 7. Another one of our brothers, sisters took their own life. It's happening too much. I don't know the number. I don't want to give you the wrong number. It's either 4 or 5 or 3 or 4 so far for 2017. I'm not from PAPA. I'm not from any counseling services unit. But you guys and girls, if you ever feel like you're in that place, there is hope, all right? Everybody has problems, and this is not why I'm up here. But I don't want to see this happen. This is terrible. Nobody has a perfect life. If they tell you they do, they're full of shit, all right? No matter how much money you have, there's always going to be a problem in your life. Job-wise, because I've been in that dark alley where the job looks at you and you think your career is done. I've been there. It will happen to somebody in this room where you're getting modified and you're on probation and you think you're done. It's only a job. You will overcome it, all right? You can't just take that quick solution and think it's going to end the problem, especially, you're leaving behind. Everybody's situation is different, family, whatever. Again, I'm not here to talk about, to coach you guys and girls, but there are resources out there. Speak to people when you are feeling down at all right? It's too frequent. I've never seen it like this throughout my career, but it's happening over and over and over. So early intervention was covered last week. Again, I would not sleep on that procedure. It's relevant and it may come up. We don't know what's going to come up. Speaking of coming up, you all heard Sergeant's test was last Wednesday. Now, I don't know what feedback you're getting from people in your command, but the majority of the feedback that I'm hearing, and I have numerous texts, PMs via Facebook. I just want to let you know the test was straightforward. Don't let anyone tell you different, especially if you guys took the key and read all the material. Everything you guys went over was on it. I abused the audio for a month straight just so I can have a better understanding of all the material, and it was there. Even the in-basket was fair. It was only 15 questions, and it wasn't anything that wasn't on the key in-basket. This is just one of the messages I'm getting from studiers, okay? There are people that just go there to get the day off. Now you got to stay a certain amount of time to get that slip. Those people you don't want to listen to. The general consensus is if you studied for that sergeant exam, you're going to pass, all right? And we've been saying that all along. They need to make fair exams. And that Wednesday exam proved that if you studied, it was going to be a fair exam. And that's all you guys and girls in this room should want. You should not want these people writing your test to give it away. That's not fair for the people who don't study. They should not be able to become a lieutenant because we just need people to pass. No, they should have to study, pass the test, all right, fairly. And I feel confident you will get the same type of test they got, all right? I don't know how many procedures that we've gone over. I'm talking about the sergeant's class, and I'll do the same thing here. Procedures that repeat itself, going back 20 years of exam history. There's a reason why they repeat itself. It always comes up. So if I stand here and tell you, or any other instructor tells you, listen, AWOL comes up, missings come up, May Executive Order 16 of 1978 come up. You need to take that information, and when you get to that procedure in the lesson, you need to tear it apart. You say to yourself, this one has come up 8 times, I'm just making a number up, in the last 20 years. I'm going to know this procedure up and down, sideways, left and right, whatever. How are they going to trip me up? They went, I just have a small list of procedures. Missings, AWOL, makes executive order, losing your ID, prisoner unusual, continuous event, DARP codes. If you're on patrol, they asked you a DARP code. I don't know what it was, but obviously DARP is 99T whatever. They asked you a DARP code. Stolen car code. 2 points right there. Sims. 1 Sims question. For your test, I wouldn't think it's going to be that heavy either. And the Sims was, you'll see when we go over Sims, basically, which agency is going to be in charge. There's going to be a chart we're going to give you that's going to show you different jobs and who's in charge. The incident was a bomb job. If you didn't know, you don't even have to study Sims. If you didn't know the NYPD is in charge of a bomb job, I feel bad for you as a supervisor. That was a ground ball Sims question, all right? 250s, they had 2 or 3 questions. Prisoner transport. Crime scene, harbor. You didn't get it yet. But if you remember from studying for sergeant, the acronym is still the same, harbor. The example that I used in the sergeant crayons, if you guys and girls came, was the example they used. There's one of the times that you have to get crime scene out to a job. Robbery or hijacking with an injury caused by a firearm. Everybody hears firearm and they think somebody has to be shot. The example I use in class, if you came, I walk up to a student, I crack you in the head with my gun, I take your iPhone, you're bleeding. What is that? Robbery, injury caused by a firearm equals crime scene. What did they ask on the test? Same exact example. Same exact example. I don't know why they did, but I will say the people writing that test and writing your test come to the school. So maybe they remember these examples. I don't know. I have nothing to do with what's going to be on your test or what was on that test, but who knows? But the shit, and I'm on tape and I got to try and curb the language. The stuff that was on the exam, we covered. Prisoner unusuals. It changed from when you studied, but there's a list of prisoner unusuals. I remember clear as day. There's a list of if a prisoner does X, Y, and Z, it's considered a prisoner unusual. Who do you notify? CO duty captain, operations, and maybe IAB. As I'm teaching it, and I know I do it all the time, I tell the people right on that procedure, no borough. No, and I even cursed in the cram. I said, no fucking borough. You know, I should read the message. Somebody sent me a message, hey Cap, all I can remember is you saying no fucking borough, and it was right there on the test. Because they tried to say one of the notifications was the borough. It just repeats itself, all right? We are going to give you the meat and potato procedures. I will try and dissect it as best as I can. You need to take it a step further when you are home. Write a question or 2 on it. You got to know it every which way, because when it comes your way, they may make it tricky. But if you dissected it, it's not going to be tricky, all right? They come at you with a missing. It's almost on every test. Line of duty. You need to know it every which way, cold, so you don't drop that point, all right? Continuous event. Some people dropped it. I'm still getting text. You got a person in a bus stop, standing in a bus stop, waiting for the bus. Right behind this person, like where the cross is housing. So it started in the bus stop, but not in the projects, but it started in the bus stop. Basically, I don't remember all the other details. They wanted to know what's the jurisdiction. Was it housing or was it not housing? The rule will come from 207-33. If housing's on both sides of the street, if this is the street, this is housing and that's housing, no matter where you are on the street, it's housing. Now, housing wasn't on that side. But so if housing's only on this side of the street, how does it work? From the yellow line in is on development. So the jurisdiction code was 02. They said, I heard, that was directly from one of our one of the rewrites. So that means it came up on a prior exam. They used the same example, all right? So please, when I tell you that this procedure has come up, or if I was sitting in your chair, I would know this procedure, know it. We tell you this for a reason. I'm not standing up here to bullshit you, all right? I want you all to pass. If I didn't care, right now I'd still be sitting in bed. I'm retired. I don't want to get up Saturday morning, or I don't need to get up Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings to teach, but I do it because I want people to pass, all right? So today, we're doing 203. Not heavy for you guys. Not much has changed. There's a few new procedures in there, all right? Something else they tested on the sergeant's test, I just remembered. When we get to it, in case I forget, issuing a summons for weed. You know the whole weed rules changed. It was on the news last year with Bratton and de Blasio, all right? Enforcement for weed, that came up. Anything new, and I'll remind you guys and girls when we go through it. Look at your cover so you know what to expect for next week. We go in order, 204, but we're also going to cover a piece of 205 because 204 is not that big. So from 205, we're covering evals, all right? Whatever the numbers are, they start out in the 50s or whatever. So know the eval procedures for next week's lesson. Evals, I think, is a big deal. TRI was on the last test. I mean, how could you not be ready for a TRI to force, all right? Somebody breaking an ankle involved in a police encounter, parts A and B, somebody getting zapped with a taser, who's the investigating supervisor. If you went to the crams, I explained all that stuff, all right? And I will reiterate it as we go through the next 18 weeks. So on page 1 is just an overview of telling you what's the difference between an absolute rule and a qualified rule, because in 203, you're going to have rules that are absolute and qualified, all right? What's an absolute rule? There is no exception. Qualified rule has an exception. You're going to see that in 203, and you're going to see that in 221 when it comes to deadly physical force and use of force, all right? Those procedures just came out of 203 and went into 221. So they tell you what that is so you know. Here's an example. Look at the first example. You're prohibited from consuming intoxicants while in uniform, whether on or off duty. That's an absolute rule. There is no exception. What they're saying is there is no way that you can make that statement a good statement, all right? Period. Second statement, look what it says. Be fit for duty at all times is a qualified rule. You can make that a good statement. Be fit for duty all times. What's the exception? Except while you're out on sick report. If you're on a sick report, you could be on meds, and you're not going to be fit for duty, all right? So they give you some other examples here. I'm not going to waste time reading it, but look at it. What they do is they swap the absolute rules and a qualified rule on test day, and they may confuse you, all right? And we give you some examples of what they did in the past. All right, go to page 2. Order of rank. This has not changed. Starts obviously with chief of department, your 4-star, your bureau chiefs, your 3 stars, assistant chiefs 2, deputy chief 1, inspector. Now, with the inspector, chaplains and surgeons have the assimilated rank of an inspector, all right? Easy rule to remember. And how do you remember it? Why do we give them that power? Because when you go to the surgeon and he or she says, hey, you are to report to duty today at 1500, and you say no, they must suspend you. Will it happen? I don't know. But that's why the NYPD gives them that bullshit power, all right? So they are considered inspector. Then you got DIs, captains, lieutenants, which are all here for, right? And sergeant. Now, who's in charge at a job? Obviously, until the boss arrives, all right? Because once the boss arrives, they're in charge, okay? Most of us are in charge, but some bosses, they're still not in charge nowadays, all right? So, who's in charge? The senior uniform member in the assigned R&P or on foot at the scene. How do we determine seniority? Look at the box on the right. It's determined by your appointment date. If the same appointment date, then you go to the list number. If the assigned sector of foot patrol is not there, then who's in charge? Senior cop on the scene, and once the boss gets on the scene, they're in charge. Now turn the paper over. Don't look at that. I want to give you an example because if you look at that, you're going to get it right. So I just read the rule. It sounds so easy, all right? I made up a question last night, and now you what? You probably all saw who the fucking answer was. I got to switch it up here. Listen to the question. Apply what we just said about who's in charge at the job. All that was 3 lines of information. Test yourself right now. See if you can figure it out. So listen to the example. P.O. Mifsud and Cone, assigned to Sector Eddy in the 9th Precinct, are assigned a 1054-80 case at the corner of 8th Street and Avenue A by radio. While en route to the job, officers Mifsud and Cone observed an assault in progress and immediately informed radio that they would respond to the aid upon completion of the assault job. Hearing this, both Sector Adam and Patrol Post 1 informed radio they would respond to the 80 case. Radio assigned a job to Patrol Post 1. Police officer Rosa is assigned to Patrol Post 1, and she's a 2-year veteran. P.O. Rinaldi, a 10-year veteran, P.O. Shedden, an 18-year veteran assigned to Sector Adam, arrived at the scene at the same time of Patrol Post number 1. According to PG blah, 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 who would be in charge pending the arrival of his supervisor or us guys, Sector Ready, because we were originally assigned a job. So, you got Sector that showed up, one guy with 18 years on, the other one with 10, and you got Patrol Post with 2 years on. Who's the answer to that? Rosa, the Patrol Post. Why? Because they were assigned the job, all right? If they are assigned the job, they are going to be in charge. Now, if you go back to page 2, they break it down nice. This is new in the lesson, and I like the way the owner did it. Look at the box on the right. When seniority matters, if 2 assigned cops, Foot and RMP, are 84, so remember, they are assigned the job, they are 84, who's in charge? It's decided by seniority. If 2 unassigned cops show up and there are no assigned people, then it goes to seniority among the unassigned. However, here is the key point, what I just hit in the question. Between assigned and unassigned, seniority doesn't matter. Assigned wins over the unassigned, all right? That box explains those 3 lines on the left, and you should not forget it. Those little 3 pieces of information, you would think you would read it, and it's not a big deal. But you see how they make the question, or I made the question, a little tricky, okay? That's the way I want you guys and girls to start thinking. Think, how are they going to get me? Now, this is not one of the procedures that I'm harping on, but I told you when we started last week, you should make up questions. Not for this procedure, but if I think it's an important procedure, make up questions. Whoever you are studying with, hey, you make up 5 questions for IMF. You make up 5 questions for IMF and swap. You're going to have 10 questions for IMF. You guys and girls should hit every point in there between those 10 questions. And when you see it on test day, because IMF has ICO, you should not get it wrong, all right? All right, 20302, courtesies. We're supposed to salute as per the U.S. Army regulations. We salute the PC or any deputy commissioner, even if they're in civilian clothes. We salute supervisors in uniform. The boss is supposed to return the salute promptly. It's not required at a large assembly unless directly addressing or being addressed by a boss, or if it interferes with police duty. Obviously, you don't have to salute. We also salute the flag as it passes, or when a national anthem is being played. If the flag is not visible, then you are going to face the band and salute. That was on a prior test question. The desk, you have to salute when we enter the command, all right? The desk, don't let them slip in desk officer. Yes, the desk officer is behind the desk, but the patrol guide says we salute the desk, all right? Remove your hat, stand at attention in the office of a captain and above, and order attention for the arrival of DI or above unless otherwise directed. Now, people get confused with the last one. Just think about your command. When a duty captain comes in, do you order attention? No, all right? You got to be careful with the wording, because when we go in the office of a captain or above, you got to remove your hat. But shouting attention when a boss comes in, it's for DI and above, all right? Don't drop an easy one there. Next page. Compliance with orders. Be familiar with and revise your patrol guide. Obey lawful orders and instructions of supervisors. If you're temporarily assigned to a higher rank, except as otherwise indicated, be governed by the rules of that rank. Be punctual when reporting for duty. Maintain a valid New York State driver's license. And if your license, remember the 3 different examples, is suspended, because we all remember suspended, but they could use revoked or not renewed. What do? Notify your CO. Ground ball, break in the chain of command. Now, this has come up on one of our in baskets or something. It was on a prior test. It was a telephone message. Cops had this license suspended. What do you do with the cops? Can they go in a car? If I have my license suspended, P.O. Mifsud, and I'm at your roll call, can you stick me in a car? Yes, you can. I just can't drive it, all right? I could be the operator. But then somebody had an argument. Well, the patrol guide says you're supposed to switch every 4 hours, operating a recorder. Well, guess what? I don't have a fucking license, so we're not switching. That's it. Drive the whole tour. That guy, you could use him if it's on an in-basket, right? If whatever, they have no license, you could use him in a car. Obviously, they can't say use him as the sergeant's op because he can't drive, right? But you could use him in a sector. All right, in the box. Cooperate with a supervisor regardless of their rank who is dispatched by competent authority like the CO or Medical Division or IAB to visit a member while they're out sick and direct you to comply with a lawful order. Like you have to go to court or you have to go to the trial room. That changed within the last few years. What that's saying is, and it makes sense, you could be at home, a lieutenant. They knock on your door. Sergeant says, hey, I'm from the medical division. You have to report and see your surgeon. Now, you're a lieutenant and the sergeant's at your door. Basically, you have to listen to them, even though you outrank them. That's what that's saying, all right? Years ago, you never had to listen to them because you outranked them. No, they're being sent by higher-ups to tell you to go to court or wherever. So you got to listen to them. All right, apply for interview with the police commissioner in writing. Include your squad or chart only when action or relief cannot be obtained by other means. Keep your locker neat, clean, secure with a combination lock without a serial number. And you request your new department locker stickers from who? You, the operations coordinator, as necessary. Now with the stickers, we covered this last week, all right? A total of 5 stickers. 2 on the outside, which you should be concerned with. 3 on the inside. The 2 on the outside both begin with a P. Police don't move. Proper tactics saves lives, all right? The 3 on the inside, gun safety, seatbelt safety, and employee assistance. ICO, going back to 202. ICO inspects the 2 on the outside. When is it? Every November. It doesn't say it in a box because this isn't the 202 lesson. After he inspects it, what does he do? How does he prove that he inspected it? Makes a command log entry, right? That goes back to what we covered last week. Now, just since we're talking about inspecting the lockers for those 2 stickers, what else does the ICO inspect looking for 2 things from last week? Same thing, I'll give you a hint. There's another actor in 202 that looks for the same 2 things. Those 2 posters. Remember those 2 posters? And here's the title. Reporting corruption and misconduct, and corruption tears us all apart. Both the ops coordinator and the ICO are going to survey the command for those to make sure they are conspicuously posted where. That's where you got to be careful of the wording, all right? Is it in a public area or non-public area? Non-public area, okay? That all comes from last week. All right, next procedure. Very, very small here. Fitness for duty. We ought to be fit for duty at all times except while we're out sick. We have the absolute responsibility to remain fit for duty while we're in possession of our firearm. And we're not supposed to consume intoxicants to the point where you become unfit for duty. Easy alcohol rules. Next page. In the box, talks about discipline for alcohol. Bringing alcohol into a department facility or vehicle is a Schedule B command discipline, except if it's in a performance of duty. We didn't cover that yet, but when we cover it, please, this is one of those times I'm going to tell you, you got to know your Schedule B command disciplines cold. Cold. If you know the Schedule Bs and they give you a scenario and it's not a B, has to be an A on test day. That's it, all right? Box on the right. Oh, the star, I should say, in the box. Consuming alcohol in uniform is never okay, on or off duty. So that is an absolute rule. There's nothing they could do to that statement to make it good on test day, all right? But what about the guys and girls in civilian clothes? They may consume alcohol due to the nature of their assignment if they get permission from who? The bureau chief, okay? So don't let them say you are in uniform and you have permission from the bureau chief. No, that's how they mix the absolute and qualified rules. You look at me like saying they'll never get me, but yeah, if you don't pay attention, they could get you and you read it fast, all right? Now, the different charges we get when we mess up because we're drunk. Unfit while armed is a charge in the trial room. They'll impose strict punitive sanctions. So basically, you have your gun on you and you do nothing besides being unfit. All right, that's one charge. Now, we misuse a firearm while we're unfit. What happens? It says they will fire you, but the exception made by the PC. So you're unfit, you pull out your gun as you leave whatever, a lounge, and you decide you want to shoot at seagulls. Because we had this 2 or 3 years ago. Guys from Brooklyn North in the Rockaway shooting at seagulls, all right? While unfit, this is what they did right here, okay? You may know the people I'm talking about. I'm just making an example so you can understand what this charge means. What's the penalty? Fired, unless you are O'Neill's cousin or some shit, all right? Next one, unfit. This one I would highlight. While driving and you cause an SPI, serious physical injury, to another, again, you will be fired. PC can make the exception on that as well. If you plead guilty to a DWI in a trial room, even if nobody was injured, you will be placed on dismissal probation. During the probation, the job can give you a breathalyzer on or off duty. If they call you in off duty, they have to pay you overtime. Fail the breathalyzer, they may fire you. And what's unfit for duty in NYPD's eyes? 0.04 or greater. And that comes out of 203.23 in case you're trying to line it up in this procedure in your book. And the last one, you refuse a DWI test. This is the catch-all charge. When a job wants to hammer you for something and they can't find a right category where it fits, this is what they get you on, all right? Engaging in conduct prejudicial to the good order, efficiency, or discipline of the department. All right, next procedure. Performance on duty general rules. So we have rules with no exceptions. Perform all duties as directed by competent authority. Notify TSOP before you leave your post, and if possible, an activity log entry. Notify TS and make an activity log entry upon return. Operate department vehicle only when assigned and qualified. So look at bullet number 2. It's such an easy statement, right? Look, notify TSOP before you leave your post, and if possible, make an activity log entry. So you're on your post and you see somebody getting robbed across the street. According to the patrol guide, you must notify the TSOP. That's what it says. And if possible, you'll make an entry. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. You're going to go bolt after him. I can understand notify radio because you can run and, as many people will do, scream. But how do you get a hold of the TS? You know, they want you to get on the phone, obviously. So you're going to have to start dialing as you're watching that person get robbed before you leave your post on test day. That's the wording. That's what it says, all right? So if they give you an example, it doesn't make sense, but go with what it says. But now the job is over. Look what it says. Notify the TS and make an activity log entry upon return. So when you come back, you got to do both things. The box on the right just reiterates what I said. Box on the bottom is a review from last week. Look at that at home. Go to the next page. So we're still on no exceptions. Take meal in a PBA. What's that? Police facility, bona fide restaurant, or department auto. Make accurate, concise entries in chronological order in black or blue ink. Aha, that just sparked something. Blue ink. You know it's all new. What else did they change with activity logs? We didn't get up to it yet, but I want you to know, all right? This is good what they did. You and your partner, you are the operator, you can write in your book, what? See, recorder. Until it comes time to take enforcement action, which makes sense because we're going to go to court, we're going to get a CCRB, we're going to get sued, all right? So that's a big change. In our 212 lesson with activity logs, we tell you where they went on 2 prior exams. What do you, the sergeant, write in the cop's book? When you scratch the book. Does anybody know the sequence? Daytime, rank, signature, comments, if any. How many tests was it on in our book? We'll tell you. 2. Guess what? They asked it again. I don't get it. I don't understand why is that so important to know exactly what goes in what order. They ask the same shit again. I think it's a bullshit question. But now it's there 3 times. Could come for a lieutenant's test, all right? So, again, you got to pay attention to nonsense things like that, all right? If they keep asking it, they like it for a reason. I don't know. All right, back to this. 3rd bullet. you may use a cell phone, department or private, instead of going on the radio if you have a lot of information you're going to transmit, personal information, etc. Sign department forms or reports with your full first name, middle initial, and surname in the box. Use your tax number or shield number as indicated on the form. Civilian MOS are mandated to write their tax number on department forms even if it's not requested. And you, lieutenants, signing off on a voucher must write your tax number on the bottom of the voucher in the shield box because you don't have shield numbers as a lieutenant. Make corrections with an ink line through the incorrect matter initial with the correction immediately above. Use numerals for dates, DO for ditto. Answer the phone promptly, courteously stating command, rank, title, surname, and may I help you? And we tell you in the bubble, they actually went there on a prior test. What do you say when you answer the phone? I mean, is that such an important question to ask on a supervisory exam? They thought it was and they asked it one time. Safeguard prisoners humanely when you're supervising them. Maintain department property in serviceable condition. Wear your disorder control scooter helmet as follows. Before we go into this, from 204 next week, your helmet's broken, who do you go see on test day? CO. Easy, ground ball, breaking the chain of command question, all right? So when do you wear your helmet? At your discretion, if there's no boss around, all right, consider safety. At a boss's direction when there's one around, unless it's an emergency, you're standing there at a detail with a boss and they start throwing stuff off roofs at you. You don't got to look at the boss and wait for him to say, hey, put your helmet on. Carry a helmet on your belt or place it within sight and sound of the scene. They say a bodega is okay. Who's got to have helmets? All scooter operators, 2 and 3 wheel, and we'll cover the scooter rules. Actually, the scooter operator was covered last week, all right? 2-wheel scooter operators must also have the face shield. If you're assigned to an RMP and in uniform, you must carry the helmet in a trunk. Everybody else keep it in a locker or carry it when you are directed. Now we have rules that have exceptions to it. It says start forms and reports with the number 1 at the start of the year unless otherwise specified. Remain on your post until properly relieved, except for police or personal necessity or meal. Make an activity log entry before you leave your post. We covered that already. If possible, deliver recovered property to the desk officer where you found it, unless you're told otherwise. Now, check in the locker rooms, dorms, bathroom inspections. You're supposed, of the opposite sex, obviously. You're supposed to announce your presence except if it's an emergency. Have a member of the appropriate sex be present if practical, so it's not a must. You can go into that dorm. And desk officers will inform the inspecting officer if the dorm is being used prior to inspection, and you make a command log entry for anybody using the dorm. There is no such thing as a dorm log, all right? Don't let them slip that in there on test day. Next page. Performance on duty, prohibited conduct. So the following have no exceptions. Consuming intoxicants while in uniform, whether on or off duty, we said that already. Card games or other games of chance in a department facility. Now you could go into some lounges and it doesn't say that there's money involved here. It just says card games, all right, or games of chance. You know, in some lounges, people will pull out cards and start playing. Technically, on test day, no good, all right? Using department letterhead, personnel or equipment, resources, supplies for non-department city purpose, no good. Using, now, look at the next 2 bullets carefully. Using electronic, digital device, personal gaming device, MP3, PDA, Bluetooth, on duty, no good, but now look what it says. Cell phones are okay 3 times you can use. On meal, conducting department business or authorized by competent authority, but they must be concealed. So, we can use our cell phones those 3 times. But on test day, don't let them say you're using your cell phone that's hooked up with a Bluetooth. No good, because it says up above, Bluetooths are no good. That's how they can corrupt a good statement, all right? Using, and this is new, I would definitely highlight this. This is no good. Using personal electronic device like your own cell or your own camera to record any police encounter, audio, video, or photo. I used to do that all the time, 100%. When we would do a car stop and we have people out of the car, somebody would walk by and go like this. And I would do this as a captain. They would go like this, start recording me. So I would go like this and record them. So that means this wasn't around. But if you do that nowadays, you are in violation. You cannot record anything with your own personal equipment, all right? Now, when can you record? Look what it says. You may record with prior supervisory authorization, and if you're using department equipment, and they're referring to body cameras. You all know any recordings is considered Rosario and must be made available for relevant prosecution. Wearing, carrying, or using an unauthorized radio while on duty, no good. And making an unauthorized radio transmission, no good. Never, never, never. Now, the next rules have exceptions. Some of them we already covered. Consuming intoxicants while on duty, whether in uniform or civilian clothes, they say is no good. But you know the exception to civilian clothes. Bureau chief, ground ball. You're going to remember bureau chief. And you all sergeants, you should know who the appropriate bureau chief is. If they ask you that on test day. If you're assigned to patrol, it's chief of patrol. Housing, chief of housing, transit, you all know who that is, all right? Making false official statements at court, civil court, AAB, GO15s, or on department records is no good. It says you'll be fired, but again, the exception made by PC on a case-by-case basis. Bringing or allowing alcohol in department building, booth, facility, car, or boat, no good, except in the performance of duty. Unfit for duty, we said that one already, is no good, except if you're out sick. You're not allowed to enter a premise serving intoxicants, but when can you? During meal or performance of duty. Next one, I would pay attention to because it only applies to you guys and girls while in uniform. No carrying a package, an umbrella or a cane while in uniform, except for the performance of duty. No recommending steering business to a customer or vice versa, unless you're conducting personal affairs. No allowing payment for recovery of lost or stolen property, except towing fees. Next one here doesn't apply to you studying for lieutenant. You're not allowed to ride in any vehicle other than a department vehicle to which you're assigned while in uniform, except if you're authorized or it's an emergency, and that rule only applies to POs and sergeants. So detectives, lieutenants, and above, that rule does not apply to them. No illegal gambling anywhere, period, unless it's in the performance of duty. No having any person make a request or recommendation that affects the duty of any MOS, except as provided by department procedures. And the last one, you cannot manipulate, transmit, distribute official department recorded media like videotape, pictures, etc., except for official department business. Next page. Here is probably the first procedure in today's lesson that I would pay attention to. Personal appearance. After this, we'll take a break. Big changes in personal appearance, and you're going to see it with the beard, with the religious head covering. I can't see how they wouldn't go to it, right? This is an easy question. You're going to have a guy or girl. They can combine this with the uniform question from 204 and 203. You're looking at 4 guys at roll call, 4 girls, you know what I mean, etc. Who's in violation, who's not in violation, all right? So, personal appearance, with no exception, everyone in this room is supposed to be neat and clean. Keep uniforms clean and pressed, in good repair, securely buttoned. Shoes must be shined and will not display a clear, visible company name or logo. No non-uniform articles showing above the collar. No visible items below short sleeves. Hair rules applies to men and women. When in uniform, and whether the cap is required or not, hair cannot reach the eyebrows or the collar. This next sub-bullet is fairly new. I'm not sure if it was around for your last lieutenant's test. Any designs shaved into a uniform member's hair or scalp are prohibited. Now, we're going to have a tattoo rule, which we're going to come up. MOS, hired on or after January 107, blah, 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 must cover exposed tattoos. Do not let them attach the January 107 to this. That's how they're going to make such an easy rule and a tricky one. They'll confuse you, right? They'll take a piece from here, stick it where it doesn't belong, and they're going to have you like, oh shit, that does sound right. January 107 comes up somewhere. So I'm giving you advance notice to look out for things like that. While in uniform and the cap is required, long hair must be gathered up under the hat without the use of a ponytail. Caps must go on the head squarely without visible bulk. Necessary hair holding devices like rubber bands, clips, barrettes, pins, etc. must be unadorned, plain, transparent, or similar to the color of the hair. All such devices must be unobtrusive and concealed as much as possible. What is not allowed to be in your hair? Scarves, beads, bows, decorative fabric covered elastic bands, large plastic clips, or any other ornamental items. Keep your sideburns closely trimmed, not extending below the bottom of the earlobe. Now the next set of rules, jewelry, makeup, and eyewear. You gotta pay attention to who and when does it apply. The jewelry rules apply to everybody all the time, uniform or not, all right? So, jewelry rules. I'm sorry, in uniform I meant. I might have confused it when I said it. I confused myself trying to explain when you got to know it, all right? Jewelry rules only apply to you guys and girls in uniform. So the crime guys, this wouldn't apply to. So what's the jewelry rules? No visible earrings, necklaces, bracelets, other adornments while performing duty in uniform. Rings are okay if they're generally smooth, so wedding bands are good, all right? And not likely to catch objects. No raised stones. So I would say an engagement ring, if they gave you just the words engagement ring with a diamond, popping out, no good. That's a raised stone, all right? You cannot have adornments visible on your head, neck, or wrist while in uniform. You could have a serviceable watch properly set, but the watch bands must be conservative in color. Speaking of the watch, if you break, you must have a watch. We're going to cover that in 204. If your watch is broken, damaged, lost while working police duty, how much can you be reimbursed to? Up to? How much? 75, all right? Comes out of 204.07. Last one for jewelry. No body piercing visible in uniform. Now, everything else, fingernails, makeup, and eyewear, apply when you are on duty. So this applies in uniform or civilian clothes, the anti-crime members. These are the rules now for everybody while you're working. Fingernails, neatly trimmed, no more than a 1/4 inch from the fingertip. 100%, every command violates this. Ladies, maybe some men too, who knows, all right? No more than a 1/4 inch from the fingertip. Natural conservative color, no designs or decorations. You see it all the time. The girls come in, they have pink, green, yellow. Right there, you're in violation, okay? No designs or decorations. Makeup, conservative in color and amount. Eyewear, conservative style, color, no neon frames. Eye straps, they'll be covered next week. They are optional. If you choose to wear them, they must be black, period. No tobacco use or chewing gum or toothpicks are allowed in your mouth while in public in uniform. Now here we go on the next page with some big changes. New stuff, great test question right here. Tattoos is not new, but you got dates, and they'll take the date from the tattoo and stick it somewhere else. So I already told you the date. MOS, that means you and civilians hired on or after January 107 must cover visible tattoos. How? Uniform, business attire, neutral colored skin covering such as a sports wrap or a bandage. Limited exception can leave it exposed. How do you get the exception? From your CO due to the nature of your assignment. If you have that exception, where does it go? In your personnel folder. Not on you, all right? Not on you. So you're in uniform with the tattoo because of the nature of your assignment. It doesn't have to be on you, okay? Beards, big changes. Look at the beard rule. 3 ways you can grow a beard. Medical reason, and if you have the medical, you need a package? Come up here. Medical reason, if you have the medical reason, look, I don't know how you're going to measure this at work if you're an ICO. Your guys and girls that come to work only can grow up to 1 millimeter. Written approval from who? Police surgeon, all right? Big change. They changed the amount of hair you can grow, and they changed who gives you permission. Well, 1 person is still on the list. There used to be more than 1, all right? That's a big change. You know what? It makes sense. You have these guys that say they can't shave, right? They can't shave. And then they come into work with just the neck shaven because they want to look pretty and have the chin strap beard, all right? Or they have this full-grown beard. No, you can't shave, no problem. Everywhere has to have hair, but no more than 1 millimeter. Good luck measuring that at the command, all right? Next one, you can't shave because of a religious reason. Okay, you got permission. You can grow up to a 1/2 inch unless you ask for longer than a 1/2 inch and you have written approval from the Deputy Commissioner of EEO. Third has not changed. Nature of your assignment, written approval from your CO, and this has changed now. Follow the arrow to the box on the right. The CO will ensure the member is clean shaven when in uniform. That never used to be there, okay? So you have permission from your CO due to the nature of your assignment to grow a beard, all right? And if you have that permission, we didn't cover it yet, you can grow a beard, you can grow goatee, chin strap beard, which you can't have for any of the other reasons. If you have that permission from your CO, when you are in uniform, you gotta be clean shaven. That's a new change, okay? So written approval must be carried whenever in uniform. Written approval does not mean you can grow a goatee or chin strap or designer beard. The goatee rule only applies to the 2 of the 3 exceptions. So if you have the nature of the assignment, you can have a goatee, all right? Don't drop an easy one. No, the only person that could give you permission for the goatee, chin strap, or designer beard is your CO due to the nature of your assignment. No religious reasons, no medical, all right? Hats. Wear your hat squarely on your head with the center of visor directly over your nose. No hair is to show beneath the visor of the hat. Ponytails are strictly prohibited when? While in uniform. So anti-crime civilian clothes, you can have a ponytail. Hats must be worn when members are assigned to foot patrol, traffic post, or details. Members riding a department vehicle may remove their hats while in the vehicle. All other times, the uniform hat must be worn except when there's an emergency. And then when the emergency is stabilized, obviously the hat goes back on. POs and detectives assigned to subway patrol duties in uniform have the option of not wearing the hat during the period of June 1 through October 1st. Now be careful of that. After the break, we're going to talk about the transit summer uniform. The transit summer uniform is for the guys and girls assigned to transit. They're in the transit bureau and they're working in there for the whole tour. This rule right here is, let's say a 7-5 cop is given a post in transit. He can't wear the summer uniform. But if it's between June 1st and October 1st, he doesn't have to have a hat, all right? Don't confuse the 2 different transit rules. Here is another big change. Religious head covering. This probably changed in January or in the beginning of February. When required because of a religious accommodation and with written approval of who? Deputy Commissioner EEO, uniform member to service will be permitted to wear the department-approved religious head covering. So it's department-approved right there. There's not much trickery here. I think it's very, very testable. So don't let them change department maybe to, I don't know, some other place. It has to be approved by the department. Don't let them, make up It's approved by their religion or whatever they try to concoct. NYPD approved religious head covering. The head covering must conform to the standards prescribed by DCEEO and have a cap device affixed to the front if appropriate. All hair must be neatly tied inside the head covering. And in an incident where the use of a tight-fitting helmet is required, you got to stick on, I guess, a tight-fitting helmet. I don't know. I would assume that referring to your disorder helmet or maybe one of the Cobra gears that you guys get. They'll use that wording, all right, so you don't get confused. What happens to the religious head covering? It must be removed so you can wear the protective headgear, all right? Brand new stuff. I think it's a great test question. I think this was on the news. It was a big deal that people now could wear, people on a job could wear head covering. Top of the next page. After we finish this, we'll take a break. This transit rule. So here you have, between June 1 and October 1, Transit Bureau POs and detectives assigned to subway patrol duty for their entire tour can wear the Transit Summer uniform. These guys, it says it right there, Transit Bureau. So these are the guys assigned to their TD, whatever, 3, TD, 4. They, between June 1st and October 1st, POs and detectives can wear the summer uniform. Not like you saw on the prior page. Prior page was a patrol guy assigned to the subway between June 1st and October 1st. All they can do is not have to wear their cap, all right? Big difference. So what's the Transit Summer uniform? Short sleeve shirt, cargo shorts hemmed to the top of the knee, black leather uniform athletic shoe, lace-up style only, no more than 5 lace grommets with no visible markings or logos. Black cotton socks, fully extended at least 3 inches, but no more than 5 inches above the ankle bone, and the socks must be visible. And then the last thing about promotion inspection, basically, is very simple, all right? You got to have a form when you get transferred to, it's not called BMOC anymore. You're getting transferred to the leadership training section. BMOC used to be the old title. It's Sergeant Development Course, Lieutenant Development Course, and Captain Development Course, just so you know what the real titles are for yourself, all right? So you're going to get a sheet. You're going to get inspected there. Not much to it. Test purposes there. Let's take our first break. Cool off. I know I'm hot up here.